Good afternoon from City Hall, Philadelphia. So today I want to talk about whether it's a good idea for those of you who are in India to visit the United States. So I'm going to list a few things that I want to consider before you make the move to the United States. Okay. So the first thing is, what are your goals? If you're a student and you want to just come over to get an undergraduate degree or a graduate degree and then um, go back to India, then I think it's a good idea. And the same thing holds good for people who want to come here on a H1 visa or an L1 visa. You can come and work here for a few years and save some money and go back. So I think if that is your goal, I believe it's still a good idea to come to the United States. But however, if you want to come here on a student visa and eventually start working and then get your H1 and then get your green card, I want you to think hard about it, because currently the processing to green card takes somewhere between 15 to 20 years. So you have to be willing to live in the United States on temporary visas and switch from one H1B to another H1B and so on for several years before you will be able to become a permanent resident. So that's something I want you to think about before deciding to come to the United States. So the second point, I think, is the prestige. A lot of us come to the United States, particularly those who are coming here on a student visa. I think there is a lot of prestige associated with it. There is something to getting an American degree. It might mean a lot in some circles. I don't know if all American degrees are really worth it. Most college degrees are not really useful except for a few. So, for example, if you do engineering from MIT, it is good. But then you look at other Ivy League universities like UPenn. Not all degrees from UPenn are the same. You can, I know actually somebody who recently graduated from Wharton who still doesn't have a job. So you have to, so the prestige that is associated with, some of these colleges and universities are not there anymore. And the same thing for, American companies. There are a lot of American companies. There are blue chip companies, but then these companies are there in India also. So you don't have to come to the United States to work for, a company like Intel or Microsoft. You can do that in India. In fact, most of the AI development work, a lot of it is currently being done in India. So these are the companies that are going to be the big companies of the future, and you don't have to come to the US to work there. You can sit in India and do it. Also, the image of the country has changed significantly in the last, I would say, 10 to 15 years. America is the same right from the beginning. There has, it has always been a powerful nation. It's always been a dominating nation. But the media landscape has changed in the last 15, 20 years. There is a lot of alternative media. There is YouTube. There's a lot of ways people all over the world are consuming information. And that has made a huge impact on how people perceive the United States. And I would say, for the most part, in the negative direction. So the US doesn't have the same cachet that it once had. So think about that before you decide to move to the United States. Okay. So the third thing is the savings trap. Most people who are coming here on H1, they are coming here to save money. You obviously can make a lot more money in the United States than you can in India, and I think it's primarily due to the weakness of the Indian rupee. Like about less than a year before I came to the US, $1 was 16 rupees. Today it is almost 95 rupees. So the weakness of the Indian rupee vis-a-vis the dollar is a huge advantage if you work in the US. But at the same time, you cannot save as much money in the US as you could before. One main reason is housing, which I will talk about next. But even you look at food, clothing, transportation, everything has become extremely expensive. At one point, I used to think that the US had a massive advantage, particularly when compared to the European nations and other Western nations. Uh, Food and housing was always very expensive in Europe and other Western nations compared to the US. But that advantage is gone. That difference that existed between Europe and United States, that is gone. US has become a very expensive nation. Housing is expensive. Education is expensive. Health insurance is expensive. So you won't be able to save as much money in the 3 or 6 years that you will be working here on a H1 than before. So that's something to think about as well. So the next topic is housing. So let's say you come here on a H1, you have your family, and then once you are here, you have your kid. All these are like standard patterns that thousands of people go through every day, not just from India, but from other parts of the world. Then you need good housing, and good housing has become extremely unaffordable in the United States. So the median age of a first-time home buyer is 40 years old. This used to be less than 30, maybe like 8 or 10 years ago. It used to be like less than 30 years, but it has suddenly shot up. Young people are not able to buy properties. They are not able to qualify for loans. All these condos in the cities are like sitting on the market for a long time, and they are simply unaffordable. Even if you buy a condo that is lowly priced, the condo fees become are extremely expensive, and the property taxes and the assessments and so on. So you might be able to pay off your mortgage at one point, but you will never, as long as you own the property, you are going to have condo fees, property taxes, and the assessments, and that will be in the thousands of dollars. Same thing goes for renting. Rental prices, since people cannot afford to buy, a lot of people rent, and they have roommates. So that has really dramatically increased the rental prices in a lot of the cities and the immediate suburbs. So housing is something I want you to think about before moving to the United States. The next topic is healthcare. So a lot of us who are here on H1s, we need healthcare for us and our families, right? So, in my case, like even though I'm a United States citizen and I do consulting, I constantly move from one company to another. The longest I worked for a company is 7 years, and then the second longest is 4 years. All other times it's like a year and a half, 6 months, 8 months. So you cannot depend on your company to provide health insurance. You will have to get health insurance on your own, and that can be very expensive. My healthcare is almost $625 a month, and it went up by $125 between 2025 and 2026. So if you have a family of 3 or 4, you're talking about over $1,000 per month in medical insurance alone. And on top of it, every time you visit a doctor or do blood tests, you're going to pay hundreds of dollars from out of pocket. So think about healthcare costs also. So, and the last point is, I would say there is a lot of mental health issues in the US right now, and a lot of depression and loneliness. This is something that people don't realize when you are in a country like India, where you're constantly busy, it is hyperactive, and things that are going on. After a while, you earn for like peace of mind and quiet. So once you come here, you will see the disadvantage of something like that. Most immigrants, and that includes Indian Americans, when we come here, we tend to come to the suburbs. The suburbs are very quiet, very peaceful. You definitely need a car to go anywhere. You can't like really walk to a nearby coffee shop or anything. You have to drive. But after some time, that becomes extremely boring and extremely lonely, particularly if you think about your retirement or if you are on your own. So that is something you have to think about. So maybe when you come here as a student, instead of thinking of a university which is like in a university town like Purdue, for example, maybe you can think about other universities, maybe a university like Temple, which is right in the middle of Philadelphia. So think about that and see whether you can really handle the loneliness that comes with American life. And the last point I want to mention, particularly to those of you who are coming to study in the United States, the fancy universities, the Ivy Leagues, and the big name universities, they are not as well thought of in the United States as they were once before. In fact, most Americans think of them as part of the problem. A lot of the bad ideas that US has put forth in the last 15, 20 years, they directly come from American university professors and others who are completely out of touch with reality. So the prestige that these universities once had is not there anymore. So there's no, at least in the United States, I will say definitely it's not there. In fact, a lot of American companies, they have rules, passed rules recently saying that the university degree should not be a criteria in getting hired. So a lot of big name companies have enacted policies like that. So if you are thinking of coming to US to study, think about maybe instead of spending $100,000 per year trying to get an Ivy League school, maybe think of spending less and getting another degree from another university, because these Ivy League schools, some of them might help you get a good start, a higher salary when you start off, but then people from other universities, second level or third level universities, can definitely catch up over time through their experience and knowledge of the subject. So these are the things I want you to think about before coming to the United States. I still think that US is a good place to come to if you are thinking of just studying and going back, or if you are coming here on a H1 and going back. But it's definitely not a country where you can be here long term, because the chances of you getting a green card are slim, and increasing the rules are being changed. In fact, one of the proposals is that recent proposals by the administration is if you want to apply for a green card, you have to go back to India. So these kind of rules are not going to go away. They are going to be here because most people in this country are very tired of both legal and illegal immigration, and they want to put an end to it because the economy is getting weaker. The people here themselves have a lot of issues finding a job and so on. So think about it before you come to the United States. So that's all I want to talk about today. Have a nice rest of the week. Talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.